Well, Theo, it's just been the State of the Nation addressed by Cyril, and it's one of the big flags that we had as a business was looking at this for the year ahead, and in our minds it could be a green flag or a red flag, and I think the summary as far as we can see as a business is that this was a green flag event, possibly not the best we could have hoped for, but I think the detail is the most important thing. So from your perspective, what are the key points that we can take out of the State of the Nation?
Warren, yes, this was President Ramaphosa's first State of the Nation as the elected President of South Africa. Up to now, he was purely standing in or finishing President Zuma's term. Now, there was a few elements for us that needed to be addressed. The first one was Eskom. We've talked about it plenty of times. Eskom simply has too much debt. Now, the president said that it's got 230 billion rands of debt that needs to be addressed. That's in line with our view that it's between 200 and 250 billion. That needs to be addressed. Eskom simply cannot pay it, it cannot fund it, and it needs to be addressed in some other way. I think the fact that the president realized this has to be addressed and did not kick this can further down the road. So in the next few weeks, Treasury and Minister Tito Mboweni will come to Parliament with a way how they're going to address it. The negative part is that in some or other way we'll need capital because there's holders of debt on the other side that needs to be refunded, but that will be addressed in some or other format, and it'll probably include private capital, the tax capital, but some or other format to take it off Eskom's balance sheet. That's the one area. The other area of uncertainty was policy uncertainty, and that's elements like the Reserve Bank, expropriation without compensation, prescribed assets. In terms of the Reserve Bank, I think the president was clear, and I'm happy with his statement on that. So I think one can take that off the table for now. That'll be an institution that has a mandate. Yes, there can be some debate around the mandate, but the role and the independence of the Reserve Bank was confirmed. That we can park. The land issue, what he did say is a few things. Number one, that South Africa need to transform the ownership of land, the economy, both from a rural area, from a farming area and an urban area, but it will be done in an orderly way, and the principle behind it will be title deeds and security of ownership. There still needs to be some detail, but I'm happy with that. Prescribed assets, nothing was said. And then the third point that was important is that in order to build our institutions, we also need the prosecuting authorities to bring people to book. He was very strong on that, so I'm comfortable that will always be addressed. So my view overall is a lot of it was spent on the economy. Clearly it's a priority. And then he also talked about the fact that there's plans in terms of sectors where private sector is involved. He specifically noted the role of Rolf Meyer and Dr. Johan van Zyl from Toyota, who's involved in designing these plans. That in the industrialization plans where you get private capital and public money in the public-private growth initiatives, he emphasized that. So that was positive.
Well, Theo, I think from an economic point of view, we certainly have ticked the boxes that could be ticked. I mean, as you point out always, the State of the Nation address is not one where we're going to find an incredible amount of detail. So it gives us a point in the direction that the President and the country wants to go. I also took great comfort from the fact that he didn't hide from the education issue. And certainly this whole thing about kids at the age of 10 being able to read for meaning, I think that's a big issue. As always, the press would like to find some controversies and point out some flaws in the plan, and the opposition leaders are always going to look for something to complain about. So I think quite a lot of those came up, and to me that possibly weren't so meaningful. Your take on those?
Yes, Warren, the press, and for that matter, the opposition parties need headlines. They need to create some kind of interest in what they say. So they took this whole thing about new cities and about fast trains. My view is that cities are being built the whole time. 40, 50 years ago, Sandton City was built. It was a hotel and a shopping centre. Today it's a city. Steyn City is being built. Waterfall between Joburg and Pretoria. If you haven't been to Durbanville in 20 years' time, there's now a city there. So these things get built. They get built worldwide. And I think that was kind of more of a way to say, guys, we have to look past this. You have to have a vision. There's a horizon as well. We have to envisage the South Africa we want. And remember that 25 years ago, 70% of South Africa's population lived in rural areas. Today, approaching 70% lives in cities. In 2030, 2040, more of that will live in cities. So we have to redesign the urban spaces. And I think that's where the land question always comes in. So I realize the role of the press, I realize the role of opposition parties, but I think overall we haven't seen this rational discussion under the previous administration that doesn't say that there's not problems. There's sure challenges, but at least we're rational about these challenges. My question, will that lead you to change our investment methodology or to make changes to a portfolio and the way we view investment markets?
No, Theo, I think as far as the state of the nation goes, the next we've got a new flag to look at, which is going to be Theo and Warren's speech, as you mentioned, and so that might change our view. But this was a green flag event for us, the state of the nation, which means that we're not adjusting our view with sending money overseas. If you need to send it out because of your overall allocation is not correct at the moment, then we haven't changed our Rand dollar view, which, as a reminder, is 14 Rand to the dollar. So it wasn't that long ago when the Rand was breaching 15 to the dollar, and then it's getting closer and closer back to 14 again. So our view would be maintain that. If you need to send money out, do it at 14 to the dollar. If not, if you're in a hurry, then at least feed your money out over time. Don't do it all in one shot. On an overall basis, our view for the South African economy is unchanged. In other words, I don't think the state of the nation has suddenly got to the point where we're going to grow at 10% a year or 5% a year, but it certainly didn't lead us to the point where we're saying the economy is going to fall off a cliff. I think it was just another step in the right direction, but it's one of many steps that need to be taken. So for now, mildly optimistic is our view, and from an overall point of view, no change in our strategy for now. We'll update again once we've seen how they're going to fund Eskom and what's going on for now. But let's hold thumbs that things continue to go in the right direction.